So I'm reading a book right now that I've read quite a few times. This is probably the 6th time I'll be reading this book. Deepak Chopra's book, The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success. And I mentioned in this practice that I'm doing with meditation that I'm using it as a way to sort of rediscover what I consider to be my purpose in life. Purpose has this sort of gravity to it. And without purpose, you are sort of floating in the atmosphere. At least that's the way it feels for me, which explains a lot, which explains a lot of why my life is where it is right now and why I feel the way that I feel. So I'm picking this book up again, and what I like to do is focus on one of the principles for an entire week. The first principle of the book is the law of pure potentiality. And what that means is that every life has within it pure potential to be anything, do anything, live a life of purpose. And of course that includes us, as human beings. Within us is pure potential to be and do whatever it is that we want to do on this planet. The way to access pure potentiality is 3 different ways: to meditate, spend time in quiet and calming the mind. The other is communion with nature, which I'm doing right now. I'm sitting on the Indian River in the park right up the street from our house. And the other is non-judgment. Non-judgment is probably one of the more challenging. Not that meditation and calming the mind isn't challenging, which I'll go into in just a little bit how today's practice went, which is why I'm sharing this story. But non-judgment is one of the most challenging. It's not just non-judgment of other people or yourself, but non-judgment of situations, circumstances, the way your life might be going, not judging it as good or bad, not classifying it in any way, just living life, right? Getting into the flow, getting into that quiet, that calm, without turbulence, because judgment causes that turbulence. When you decide that something is good or bad based on results, based on the way it might be going, you create turbulence in your life. That practice is pretty difficult, especially when you're in a situation like I am currently in, where I'm redefining my career and trying to figure out what that is, as well as my purpose. So today's practice was filled with a lot of emotion because there's a lot right now that I'm not sure about. When we quit our corporate jobs, we decided that podcasting would be our focus because we were already doing it. We already felt like we were good at it, so why not focus on it? Well, the podcast hasn't done very well in terms of results, right? We're having a good time, and there's definitely a good fan base that we have out there that love what we do and continue to encourage us, but in the grand scheme of it, will it be the thing that we do for a living? It does not look like that is going to be the case. So there's a lot of disappointment in that, and I could judge that as good or I could judge that as bad. And that's where the struggle is, because there's a lot of turbulence inside of me. I'm not sure what to do. I'm not sure what direction to go in. I know that time eventually will run out on this endeavor, and I don't want it to. So in today's meditation, a lot of emotion came up. I started to well up with tears. Not only was I sitting there, because one of the interesting things I do not recommend that you do what I'm doing with meditation. Meditation is very personal. You shouldn't be explaining how your meditation went afterwards, because for one, it'll interrupt your meditation. While I'm meditating, I keep thinking to myself, what am I gonna say? How am I gonna describe how this particular meditation is going? And that's just mind stuff. So I was working on really letting that go as well, but in the middle of it, a lot of emotion came up, which is a beautiful thing. The work when that happens is to work on releasing that, not shoving it back down, right? When it comes up, letting it go, releasing it to the atmosphere. I think one of the things that we try to do as human beings when we feel those emotions is try to figure out where the emotions are coming from, somewhere in our history. Where did it come from? And the truth is you may never know. You may never know where that stuff is coming from. You never know what in the past that's unresolved is coming up in that moment in your meditation. So the work isn't in figuring out where it's coming from, but releasing it and letting it go. So today's meditation was filled with a lot of that. But I brought up this whole thing because I feel like maybe if you start to meditate, you may not understand, some emotions may come up, you may not understand what to do with them. And the answer is you don't have to do anything with them, but let them go, release them. Don't judge them. You know, practice non-judgment in that and just let that stuff go. Right now in this moment, I feel much more free than I did going into the meditation. And I'm going to continue to work on non-judgment this week, stilling the mind and tapping into pure potentiality, because within us is that. We have the ability to become and do whatever it is that we want, but we can only do it from a quiet place. We can't do it by trying to think our way or worry our way towards it. It just doesn't work. You may get some success, but you will not feel complete. You will feel lost. You will feel like you don't have your gravity. So anyway, thank you for tuning in, guys. I appreciate it.